The Bitcoin price on January 1st, 2020 was approximately 7,200, which right now seems cheap. Current value, you would have $90 million with a 8.98. What is this? 8 million percent return.
It's 8,999,900. So 9 million percent return. That sounds insane.
Okay, so
$90 million with $1,000.
Go.
We are live, ladies and gentlemen. Ivo and Gibran podcast. ivoandgibran.com. Today is November 20th, 2024. Diving into crypto update.
Holy crap.
BTC all-time highs again. 3% change in the last 24 hours. 4.91% change in the last 7 days. Market cap $1,872,685,000,000. 555. It changed in the last second. Bitcoin is at $94,000, $592.24. Gee, what are your thoughts on this?
Well, I'm trying to correlate the
closest it's ever been to $100,000. This is a momentous.
It was 90,000. Yeah, dude, it might hit.
We are potentially. It could potentially be hours. It could potentially be days. It could potentially be weeks. Will it be months? I don't. It doesn't feel like it. It feels like we're days away from Bitcoin breaking 100,000. The historic laser eye moment that the world has been waiting for, and the crypto world has been waiting for years. It feels like we're days away. What are your thoughts on this, G?
I want to know what Twitter handle actually still has that photo.
The laser eyes?
Yeah, that would be a cool, like a mini interview. Yeah, when'd you do it, and what made you crazy enough to keep it?
Interview all the politicians that went laser eyes on us in 2020. Yeah, I think Tom Brady had his laser eyes. I don't know who else, but there were a lot of people. And so let's go into number 2. So Bitcoin almost at 95,000. This is the highest it's ever been. And we have Ethereum sitting at $3,055. Market cap of 368 billion. Tether in third place. Solana number 4, $233. 110 billion market cap. We have BNB sitting in 5th place at $601. XRP at $1.10. This has had a huge pump rip in the last 7 days. 57% change in the last 7 days, sitting at a market cap of $62,687,000,000. Dogecoin at number 7, 37 cents, 0.37, so 37 cents, almost 38 cents. That's down 3.54% in the last 7 days. 8 is USDC, another stable coin, right? Number 9, Cardano, 77 cents, almost 78 cents, sitting at 27 billion market cap. And Tron at number 10, holding steady in the top 10, 19 cents and a half, 16 billion market cap. Shiba Inu at the honorary 11. Gee, what are your thoughts on the top 10?
Sorry, I was interested in, I was looking up some
Your ChatGPT and stuff, huh?
Yeah, but no.
ChatGPT is G's new best friend, which this sponsor is brought to you by. I
know, right? No, I'm excited. I think Bitcoin, if it hits 100K, I'm curious to see, I want to see what happens. Will it keep going, or will it just be a quick boom, right? Drop, because are people going to sell?
Yeah.
Is this life-changing money for some, for other people? Like I was looking into MicroStrategy. So here's their Bitcoin acquisition. So August 2020, spent $250 million, purchased 21,454 Bitcoin. September 2020, acquired an additional 16,796 Bitcoin for 175 million. December 2020, they purchased 29,646 Bitcoin for 650 million. Ooh. February 2021, they added 19,452 Bitcoin for 1.026 billion. Ooh. June 2024,
Billies now.
They acquired 11,931 Bitcoin for 786 million. Ooh. September 2024, they purchased 5,445 Bitcoin for 147.3 million. November 2024, they made a record acquisition of 51,780 Bitcoin for 4.6 billion, bringing total holdings to approximately 331,200 Bitcoin.
They're in the Billy Club.
And here's their fundraising activity. December 2020, they issued 650 million in convertible senior notes to fund Bitcoin purchases. February 2021, they raised 1.05 billion through converting senior notes for additional Bitcoin.
Okay.
September 2024, completed a 1.01 billion offering of 0.625% of convertible senior notes due in 2028, with plans to use a portion of the proceeds for Bitcoin acquisition.
Of
October
course.
2024,
No surprise there.
Announced 21 plan to raise 42 billion over 3 years, split evenly between equity and debt to fund further Bitcoin purchases.
Wow. So there is probably not another example of an organization going as hard and quadrupling down on Bitcoin purchase.
Yeah,
and investing.
And from
that's minimum 9 figures. That's the lowest they've ever gone. 9-figure Bitcoin purchasing.
And from an interview that I saw, he said that his
who is he?
Sorry,
I don't think you mentioned it.
Michael Saylor, right?
Yep.
He said that a great play for his company is if you can't invest directly into Bitcoin, because some funds and some companies, you can't invest in this type of asset. He said they could buy micro what is it? MicroStrategy? MicroSolution?
Yeah,
MicroStrategy. Because it's basically you're still getting into Bitcoin, because they're basically only just their business is to just buy Bitcoin and hold it. So I thought that was interesting. And then when they're issuing their notes, it's right, like everybody on every side is making money. People that are betting for Bitcoin, people that are betting against Bitcoin, because you could trade that.
Yeah, well, basically this was the Lex Friedman podcast, and I don't know exactly when they made it or when that came out, but he was explaining why it's good for both sides, right? It's like if people that are buying that are giving them the money for them to fund their Bitcoin purchases, they're getting to trade the volatility of Bitcoin, which the way he explained it was there's a very high volatility, which traders thrive in volatile markets. There's a lot of swings and thus a lot of opportunities. But to me, the most interesting thing about this acquisition, or about MicroStrategy's Bitcoin plan and strategy, is that they're just tripling down on Bitcoin in an unflinching manner. They are doing what the majority of the world would be terrified of doing. And it almost feels like in this moment, they know something that the rest of the world doesn't know, because they're using debt, they're raising debt and using it to acquire more and more Bitcoin. They're not selling it. They've stated that they don't plan on selling it. Their strategy is to acquire more and more. And as the price appreciates, essentially they owe less and less of the debt, which is kind of what you do when you buy like a house, right? To me, this is what's interesting about this, is that when you buy a house, you're putting a down payment and you're acquiring a much larger asset in value than your down payment, right? Mm-hmm. If you do it the traditional sort of way, which is 20% down or even less. And so what they're doing is they're in a way, I mean, they're kind of going the opposite way. They're raising the fund. So it could be more like you're buying a big asset, like multifamily buildings.
Yeah.
People raise money, they buy this large asset, they hold on to the asset, and then they sell it and they flip it. And so for this, it's almost like they're doing the same thing, but they're doing it for Bitcoin. And I haven't heard of another company raising money and to literally just buy and hold Bitcoin.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts on this as a strategy?
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see what happens. I think what we were talking about was he seemed crazy until he wasn't, and so this is again one of those. Right now, it seems like a great idea until it's not. So I think it'll be interesting to see what happens. I know. I just looked it up to confirm because I had read that like Warren Buffett they've been selling off a lot of their stock. They sold a lot of Apple stock, and so he has tons of cash. So here's two bets, right? Warren Buffett completely against crypto. Mm-hmm. So what is he waiting to use that money on? And then they're feverishly buying more Bitcoin, and is it going to keep pumping up? We know it'll keep going higher, and then it's going to crash, but it'll be interesting to see.
That's what has happened historically.
Yeah.
How high will it go before the next massive correction or next massive crash? That's the question everyone's asking.
Yeah. But I think it'll be fun to see both the more traditional route, and let's see how he'll fare in the next, 5, 10, 15 years, and then this strategy for Bitcoin. It'll be interesting to see where they end up.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, this is what we were just talking about, is I literally think we're in a new paradigm. We just entered a new era where before this recent election, it really was the election that has given this, the crypto market new life. And so before this election, to me, it felt like since I started getting involved, since I bought my first crypto, I didn't know if it was going to survive.
Yeah.
So for me, it was always an extremely risky bet, right? It wasn't even really an investment. I just saw it as speculation. Like, hey, if it hits big. If it doesn't, then, it's just money that I was not expecting to keep.
Yeah.
So for me, it was always a huge bet, and I didn't know if it was going to survive. But after this election, to me, it feels like we've entered a new era, and to me, it seems like it's almost as if it's reaching a tipping point. Whereas if you fast forward 4 years from now, we could look back at this moment in time and say that was the tipping point that allowed this to kind of, for everyone to flood in and start acquiring it and become a legitimate asset.
Yeah. Well, with that, I think what I'm most excited about now that I thought about it was that concept that we talked about. So
what concept?
Can you say again what you said about this crypto moment being the new S&P 500?
Yeah. So basically, if you think about the United States, they didn't become the leading world power until after World War II. Mm-hmm. Right. So after World War II, it was like we've arrived. From that moment, the world entered into a new paradigm. It was a new era in history where the United States was the world's leading power. The dollar became the world reserve currency, and it's literally a new world order. And
because we were not in that war, all the other countries, vast resources, vast amounts of money, we helped, but we still had a lot of wealth, and we became the dominant power right after that.
Yeah, well, the U.S. basically helped win the war. They helped swing the tide because of the manufacturing power, basically.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is we kind of stayed out of it enough to let.
But that's besides the point. Okay. I think that's like a totally whole different point. That's besides the point. In that, like, yes, basically the U.S. helped win the war. They became the world's leading power, and they established the new world order, which was we're using the U.S. dollar as a world reserve currency, and basically that in and of itself made the S&P 500 become sort of one of the leading assets in the world from that point up till now. Right? Like if you just bought the S&P 500, that was the default measure of assets. So any investment besides the S&P 500 is measured against the S&P 500. Did you outperform it or not?
Yeah.
Right? Hedge funds, individual investors, traders, real estate investors, everyone is trying to beat the S&P 500. So what I'm thinking in this moment, these are my thoughts, this is my analysis, is that to me it feels like we've entered a new paradigm, and now Bitcoin, I believe, is going to become the new benchmark and standard of investing. I think it's a new apex asset, and I think that it's literally going to be measured against all other investments as a new standard. So it's going to become like the new gold standard. It's going to become the new digital form of gold against which we measure all other assets and investments, eventually becoming the world reserve currency. That's where I see it going.
Yeah.
And that's my prediction.
And so I love this because we talk about this quite a bit, which is at our age, for us to acquire the level of wealth that the baby boomers had, I believe those opportunities are just gone. And the traditional vehicles, which were homes, S&P 500, just buying stock, it won't do it fast enough. Going to college, it won't build the wealth fast enough for you to keep up with inflation and then to allow you to financially get ahead, which means you can pay all your bills, live somewhere, have a great quality of life, and put enough money that your money's working for you.
Yeah.
So
have a family, have kids.
Yeah, have a family, have kids. So this to me is our best shot, which looking at these returns, which we were looking at Bitcoin returns versus S&P 500 and real estate. And I don't think there's another vehicle that can get us to that level of wealth. In a decent timeline, because what's the point of having money when we're 60, 70, 80? So I think this might be one of the best, and this might be the last moment to buy Bitcoin or buy, I can't speak for the other cryptos. I really am focused on Bitcoin. We might miss the opportunity to buy Bitcoin at this 30, 40, 50,000, right? It might not come back.
Yeah. It might never come back down to 30, which is kind of what it was at for a long time during these last 4 years. Yeah, the lowest that it went down, I believe it's going to be somewhere around 17,000 during this last cycle. And so it went from, I don't know if it was 60 or 70,000 back down to 17,000. Then it was hovering around 30,000 for the majority of the time. And the previous cycles that I've experienced, it has a massive pump, and then it breaks all-time highs. It goes really high. And then after that, there's a massive crash. 70 to 80% of the value is gone usually. And so it's just going to depend on how high it goes. Yeah. So I have my thoughts on where it could go. But I'm not, well, we'll see. We'll see. But those are my personal, hypotheses and analyses on where I think it's going to go.
Sick. Do you care to know the S&P 500 returns by decade?
Sure.
So in the 1920s, it was 294.72%.
Okay.
The 1930s, actually, I'll give a little bit more context. The 1930s, which is the Great Depression, the return was negative 42.85%.
That was rough.
The 1940s, which is World War II and recovery, 34.16%.
Okay.
1950s, the post-war boom, the return was 486.68%.
Wow.
1960s, mixed prosperity, the return was 54.73%. The 1970s, stagflation and volatility, 17.23%.
Okay.
The 1980s, the bull market resurgence, return 227.52%.
Nice.
1990s, the dot-com boom, 316.14%.
Whoo.
2000s, the lost decade, 24.10%. The tech bubble burst.
Yeah, that's when we were teenagers.
Yeah.
Kids to teenagers.
And then 2010s, recovery and growth, return 257.21%.
Let's go.
2020 is ongoing, right?
Dang it.
And the decade,
I want to know, what is it up till now?
The decade started with COVID-19, right?
It did. This has the potential to be one of the highest decades ever.
Does it actually?
Because it probably started right around the time that everything crashed during COVID in 2019. So 2020 starting, in terms of the measurement, it could potentially be one of the highest, with AI now leading the way and the Mag 7 and
but now
AI, AI wave.
Here's a freaking awesome contrast to, we just went through all the decades, right?
Mm-hmm.
Here's an initial investment of $1,000 in Bitcoin.
Oh God, don't do it to
on
me.
January 1st,
Don't
2020.
do it to him, bro. You're just gonna make people depressed.
So okay, this is January. We just went through every single decade.
We don't want you to be
here's
depressed, but you might be depressed.
Here's the initial investment.
You can still click and watch something else.
Okay, so
I feel bad.
we went through the percent return of the entire S&P 500 by every decade. Nothing went over, I think, 500%.
Yeah.
So here's a Bitcoin investment of $1,000 in January 1st, 2020. So your initial investment amount would be $1,000. Bitcoin price on the Bitcoin's price on January 1st, 2020 was approximately 7,200. So the Bitcoins that you could purchase would be 0.1389 Bitcoin. Your Bitcoin price on November 20th, 2024, it was approximately about 90,000. So the current value of your 0.1389 Bitcoin would be $12,501. Your percent return was 1,150%.
1,000, over 1,000 in the last 4 years.
More than double any of the best decades
Yeah.
of the S&P 500.
Wow. Okay. But we're comparing apples to oranges because you just did 4 years over decades. What about decade 2010?
Okay.
It's the only decade that we have, like the only full decade that we have of Bitcoin, right?
Yeah.
Because it was released 2008. It's 2024. So there's only been one full decade from 2010 to 2020, which even just the 4.5 years is already double of what the best decade was. But so that we're comparing at least the same time frame, I think it would be fair to do that. There we go. Using ChatGPT. G is using ChatGPT for everything. I'm like, bro, like, what are you having for dinner tomorrow? And he asked ChatGPT, and he's like, lasagna.
All right, so it's gonna
Crystal ball. Do you use ChatGPT? Do you use Google or ChatGPT more?
Me? I'm
asking the
audience.
But yeah. What do you use more? I mean, I know what you use more. Yeah.
But you don't have to. You have to train yourself to use it, dude.
Yeah. I think you're on the,
so
the
here
future
goes.
wave, dude.
So a Bitcoin investment of 1,000 invested into Bitcoin.
Oh, this is when you're gonna get depressed.
Yeah. Do I go over the S&P 500 one as well?
Sure.
Okay, so we're gonna compare an investment of 1,000 in Bitcoin
From
and the
2010
S&P
to
500.
2020. Okay.
From 2010 to 2020. So
Cool.
January 1st, 2010 to January 2020.
Cool.
A Bitcoin investment. So the investment of $1,000, the Bitcoin price on January 1st, 2010 was approximately 0.08.
0.088 as in 8 cents.
Yeah, 8 cents.
Wow.
Bitcoin purchased 1,000 divided by that is 12,500 Bitcoin. The Bitcoin price on January 1st, 2020 was approximately 7,200, which right now seems cheap. Current value, you would have $90 million with a 8.98. What is this? 8 million percent return.
It's 8,999,900. So 9 million percent return. That sounds insane.
Okay, so
$90 million with
So-
$1,000.
So for the same investment in the
insane,
S&P
dude.
500, so if you would invest
That's-
1,000,
I'm depressed now.
starting January 1st, 2010, into the S&P 500, the value was approximately 1,115 points, and the S&P 500 value on January 1st, 2020 was approximately 3,257 points.
Okay.
That growth factor was 2.92. Your current value would be 2,920 in 2020.
Almost 3 times as much.
And your percent return was 192%.
I feel
$1,000 to make 90 million.
that's
So
insane.
so 89 million
That
profit.
is insane.
Well, that's where it comes from, right? It's just 89 million profit to a $1,920 profit. This is what I meant where when we were talking and I said, Ivo, I don't think
That's
real estate
insane.
is going to make us rich. I don't think the S&P 500 is going to make us rich anymore. And then you believe in crypto, and then we just put it together. It might be crypto that gets us rich.
I mean, I always thought
it gives us a shot at the table where we went over leveraging debt and being able to borrow money and make real moves. And it gives us a seat at the table to compete.
Yes. And let me just tell you why I chose Bitcoin. In 2017, and again, this whole time I didn't know if it was going to survive. So I was always kind of timidly, cautiously investing.
You told me I could have.
I was like cautiously investing. Yeah, I remember. Like I got obsessed with it for a solid chunk of time.
2 years, right?
I was literally obsessed, and I was trying to tell everybody. I was like, "Oh, I just wanted to talk about it, like with everyone." I was like, "Do you have Bitcoin?" Yeah. So one of the
you would have benefited from Reddit so much.
One of the major, dude. I know.
If you would have found a community that would have inspired you instead of no, think about it. That's the point of
a community.
Well, that's why Silicon Valley works is because people that are that freaking crazy, you need someone else that's crazy that goes, "You're so right, do it." Versus you're an idiot. Like a cult, it'll never work.
It sounds like a cult.
No, you need people that motivate.
You need people that motivate.
You need to be in an environment.
You need the right thinkers.
Yeah.
Or you need to be in people with like-minded ambitions.
Yes,
that give you that little push that you need.
Ambition breeds more ambition, and the opposite breeds an average person, which means subpar results.
Which means you timidly dip your toes in, as opposed to jumping. Triple flip Olympic dive into the Bitcoin.
Yes, it's the pressure. It's the pressure of clocking in.
Pressure makes diamonds.
And saying this is just life and this is how it works and I'm okay.
So what G's trying to say is that we're going to raise $10 billion and just buy Bitcoin.
No,
and the devaluation of the dollar will slowly lower our debt to the point where we're paying it off with less and less money.
Well, we wanted to try to get a loan.
Do you see this?
Well, and it's sad.
Brilliant.
Even getting
the dollar
a loan,
is a debt instrument.
No, but even getting $500,000, $1 million loan, I wish we could get like 1 or 5, right? That now you're talking.
Okay, so
now you're really talking.
Yes. Okay, but let me go back to the key reason why I chose to risk and buy Bitcoin.
Okay.
So in 2017, 2018, I looked at the price of Bitcoin and I saw the similar charts, right? What was the price when it came out? What is it now? Oh my God, the returns are crazy. So I started going on YouTube, and when I went down the Bitcoin rabbit hole, I saw this one story of this one kid who his grandma gave him $1,000 for his gift on like his 10th birthday. I'm gonna get the details not fully right, but just
fact check them. Fact check
the gist of the story. Fact check the crap out of me in the comments. So it was this 10-year-old kid. Grandma gives him $1,000 for his birthday. The kid is into the internet and gaming. So what does he do with this $1,000? He buys $1,000 of Bitcoin because he's like,
why not?
What the hell? It's my gift money. That kid became a multi-millionaire in 1 or 2 years. Because his Bitcoin price shot up. He caught a bull run perfectly. That kid was a multimillionaire. He sold some. He had his badass mansion, and he started his company. And he basically was retired, right? He was good.
Yeah, he did it.
And I remember in that moment thinking, people are working 30 to 40 years, their entire adult life, just slaving away at a job that they hate, to put away little by little into your 401k, into savings account, which pays 0.0000001% interest.
Yeah.
And this 10-year-old kid with $1,000 retired in 1 or 2 years. And I just thought, it's not about working harder, it's about working smarter. And it's not about saving, it's about investing. And it's not just about investing in anything. It's about investing into the asset, which is just a little ahead of its time, to where the majority of people don't really see it coming yet.
Yeah.
So if you're just living in slightly the future before the majority of the world catches up, and you invest in something, you can massively fast forward your results. And so with the very limited funds that I had, right?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have a full-time job. I don't even think I was in school, but I went back to college during that time. I had a few $100s, that was like my savings, and that's all I could buy. With the very limited funds, bro,
mm-hmm.
I was able to build over 6 figures in a portfolio, in assets, over 6 figures in not that long, right? Like maybe 1 year, 2 years.
Yeah.
Let's just say 4 years. It took one full cycle to get to that 6-figure mark. Whereas how long does it take the normal route to accumulate 6 figures? A long time, right?
Yeah, for most, at least.
So that's
4 to 5 years, right? That's just
Yeah.
college, or you do some kind of startup. Usually takes around that much.
Yeah. So that's a story of how,
And
that's the story that inspired me to really take that kind of initial jump, which is definitely a jump you have to take.
No, I love that. And then we'll wrap up with this thought, which is to anyone that is in that position that you were in, which is incredibly hard, where it just sounds so crazy that everyone's just telling you that's not real, that doesn't happen, that's not possible. I read this story and it reminded me when you told me where you were trying to figure out, you were telling me something like, I'm trying to figure out how I can make X amount of money in the fastest amount of time. Like, why do I have to work this long to make this much? And you were saying something crazy, like, why can't I make, I don't know what number, but it was like in per hour. Remember that you were trying to maximize some kind of something like that. And I watched this story on Mayoshi-san. And I just remember
the SoftBank. Who is that? Who is that?
He started SoftBank, which is, and he started the Vision Fund, which was like, I forgot how many $1 billion in assets to invest. They're the ones that they're the ones that started investing at these like crazy valuations. They did WeWork and a bunch of other like super hardcore investments. I think he might be down on his fund, but
probably.
But he's like a billionaire, right? His Vision Fund was created with 108 billion. So that was the Vision Fund.
108 billion?
Okay. Yeah, 108 billion. But the story was
yes. Get to the story.
The story was
cliffhanger.
The story was that he was going to school. He was going to Berkeley, and during his time, he thought, I need to make money. He was fed up with classes and it wasn't going fast enough. And I believe he started telling his friends, I want to make like some crazy number. I want to make $100,000 a minute. Why can't I do that? And all his friends, the same thing.
Crazy.
You're crazy.
No
That's
way.
dumb. It's impossible.
100,000 a minute? Dude, that's impossible.
So I think he just sat and thought of things and was trying to figure it out. He ends up needing to make like a sort of calculator, which and here it ends up saying it's a multilingual translator device. He ends up building that out, ends up selling it to Sharp. I don't know how long he was there at Berkeley, but he ends up selling that to them for over $1 million. And then when he broke it down, it ended up hitting his goal of I wanted to make like $100,000 per minute, per hour,
per minute, something
he said as
time work.
He said the amount of time it took him to do it was it ended up equating to the thing that he wanted to do. And it was something where you just look at that and you go, that's just stupid.
Right.
But you need to have this type of level of I want to achieve something and then do the math and
I think you have to fundamentally operate in a different paradigm. Right?
Yeah.
It's like if I'm telling you, gee, walk across America walking in 5 hours. Can you do it?
Yeah, no.
It seems impossible, right?
Yeah,
because you're operating in the paradigm in which you have to physically walk across the entire country, which is physically impossible. But what if I come to you on this like private jet now and I'm like, gee, cross America in 5 hours. Now it's possible.
Yeah.
And the only difference is that
I gave you this tool to.
Yes, you were operating under a different paradigm. You were using a different vehicle. So to me, that was my first actual investment. And you could say it's speculation, super risky, right? Like, yada, yada, yada. Yes, but at the end of the day, I was like, I'm going to take $1, which I fundamentally understood as the dollar is being inflated away, minimum 3% every year. Since 2020, it's been a lot more, but let's just go with 3%. So every dollar that I make is losing value every single year. So why would I want dollars? Instead, why don't I, every single dollar that I can possibly save and buy into something that's going up in value over time, which if you look at the numbers on Bitcoin, there's nothing else you can find there's you're hard pressed to find something with those high of numbers. So I said, why don't I trade my dollars, which are going down in value, for Bitcoin that's going up in value? And it was just that, it's that simple of a theory. And I think that's what investing is. Like, that's what investing is. You're taking a dollar that's going down in value, you're buying something that's going up in value. Over time, compounding, it can do amazing things. And so the moral of the story is that was my first dip into investing. And I think
let's go.
That's the question, right? How can you do as much as possible and as little with as little as possible? Well, so if you have $100, $200, $300, that's literally what I started with. And over time, it just ramps up. And so if you want to go ahead and let's just say you've never invested, because this is what we're thinking, like, how can we actually possibly help people get involved in this? Because, it's scary to tell somebody buy something, it invest really in something, which is why I've been very hesitant. And there's only been a few family members that I was, just been like, hey, like, actually buy this, because it feels like it's risky for me.
It's a lot of pressure.
So it is pressure for that to do well, and it's people's hard-earned money. So this is the first time for me personally that I feel confident enough in Bitcoin's survival long-term and the adopting of it, that I think that it's kind of just from here on out, it's just going to be how much can you accumulate and acquire. And so if you don't have any crypto, if you don't have any Bitcoin, we're going to purely be focusing on Bitcoin, maybe one or two other coins, but we're focused on the top quality asset in this space, right? We're going for the blue chip of crypto. And so if you don't have any, if you've never had any, and you just want to learn, like, how do I just get a wallet? Like, what the heck is a digital wallet? How do I get one? How does this magical internet money work? Right? Like, is it real? Is it not? Like, how do I actually buy it? If you need help making that first setup of your wallet, that first purchase of Bitcoin or, the crypto of your choice, if you need help just setting that up, making that transaction, and if you want to store it onto an offline wallet so it's safer in your hands and you can't be hacked, etc., right, online, or the exchange closes and all of a sudden you can't access it or you lose it. If you want help with that, we're going to be helping people do that. And so we're going to have a link where all you have to do is just click on the link, choose a time that you want to just hop on a call with us. We're literally going to be doing these free calls for now, right? So we'll help you get started. And then from there, the more that you want to do, we can help you more. But that's pretty much what we're going to do to start just trying to help people one-on-one. And we'll just kind of see how many people we can help get started.
Yeah, exactly. And sometimes navigating a new platform, especially anything
it's a lot, dude.
Anything to do with financial and connecting a bank account and trading money, it's a scary thing to do. So the best way
Especially
I learned
the first one, right?
Yeah, the best way I learned was I had people that showed me back when E-Trade was a thing. A bunch of
E-Trade.
Yeah,
dude. There's no way you got in on E-Trade still.
Yeah, I used E-Trade. Yeah, that was my first stock. But
that's crazy.
But the point is, we've benefited greatly from mentoring people that kind of just tell you, hey, here's what I did. Take this advice, however you want, but this is how you do it, right? So that's the best way I thrive, is someone walking me through it. So we thought
an apprenticeship.
Yeah, so we thought we could do that, and we'll we'll link our website, and you can reach out to us there. Leave a comment.
It's not really a website. It's just
ask us questions.
G made it in 10 minutes.
Hey, I made that in 10 minutes, but this is where. How much would someone charge for that? Someone would charge like at least $5,000 because we paid for it.
GPT.
So the point is,
yeah, we're just gonna leave our link where you can schedule a call with us. G,
never price yourself at that.
Check out G's website because it's amazing what you can do with ChatGPT and with our sponsor.
We should get sponsored by Card. Card's a great website. Shout out to Card. And that's done by a.
Forgive me, I digress.
That's done by a solopreneur. One person, has never updated the website. He charges, I think, $100 or $200 a month. I forgot how many active users he had. Yeah, we can find out.
Legend. No more ChatGPT, please.
Okay, I guess we won't know.
So, do you like G using ChatGPT for everything?
You do have to fact check it because it can still hallucinate, but we paid for the better version. So we hope so. Anyways,
I think it's pretty awesome.
Card has a substantial user base, over 800,000 users and more than 1.2 million sites built since its inception.
That's amazing.
At $200. That's yearly. Holy shoot. Just
ChatGPT,
just look at
what's
this number.
the math on that?
Look at this number, man.
Okay. And then we cut.
Yeah, then we cut. Oh, really, ChatGPT? Yeah. It can't do 800,000 times 200.
Neither can you.
I can't.
How much is it? Let me try to do on the spot math. 800,000 times 200.
Yeah.
It's 160 million.
So potentially has made 160 million off this one thing.
I beat ChatGPT.
One person.
That's incredible.
No, one person built this.
That's
coded
incredible.
it himself, and he owns this.
The era of the solopreneur, right?
Yep.
Sam Altman has been saying that with AI and with ChatGPT, you're going to see the first $1 billion one-person company.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Will it be you? Leave your thoughts in the comments, guys. We just want to start a community and interact with people. And so if you're watching this and we have no idea where you're watching it from or who you are or what you're into, but if just leave a comment. Send us an email. Schedule a free call. We'll literally call and talk to you.
We can do that. If anybody wants to leave a video and drop us an email, we can play it as we'll pick one. Play in the beginning of the video or towards the end of the video and answer them. So it'd be cool.
Like a video question.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like just film yourself and send it in.
Send us whatever.
All right.
G's birthday's coming up.
Adios.
Later, guys.